Okay, in this tutorial we're going to be looking at lighting in UDK. But the first thing we're going to do is set up a kind of basic scene to use in UDK for our lighting. So the first thing we do is just need to check our units. So if you come up to Customize Unit Setup, make sure your display unit is in centimeters, and then check your system units 2 units to 1 centimeter. Hit OK on that. And then what we're going to do is just make a basic box room. So the first one we'll make, if you come over to create and just make a box, and we'll make this 1000 by 20 by 350. Then what we'll do is we'll just hold shift and in our top view just clone this wall back to here. We'll set that to copy because we're going to make changes to this wall that we don't want to affect that wall. And then we'll go to rotate mode, and again in our top view we'll hold shift and this time rotate 90 degrees. And again make sure we're set to copy. Now when you rotate, if it's not snapping to 5 degrees, that means you haven't got angle snap turned on. So you can turn that on just with A on the keyboard, or just by turning it off and on there. If you right click on it, you can actually set it to say 1 degree instead of 5 degrees if you want to be if you want a finer degree of snap on the angle. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we'll just roughly position the box there, and then we'll hold shift and drag, and we'll position our box there. But we're going to undo that, we're going to shift and drag again, and this time select instance. Now on one of the boxes I want you to assign an edit poly, go into vertex mode, and just drag that section into there. Okay, so now we have our rough room layout. We're going to make a floor for this as well. So I'm going to turn on snap mode, do that with S on your keyboard. And I'm going to make sure set to vertex mode. You do that by just right clicking and making sure you're just selecting vertex. And using the little yellow icon, I'm going to click and drag from there to there, like so. And obviously this is a very big box at the moment, so I'm just going to reduce my height down to 20. Then we'll pull this down to there, hold shift and drag to there. Okay, so that's our basic room made. So I'm just going to select this wall here, and we're going to add a window in here for kind of light to come in. So if we right click and go to hide under the selected, we can just work on this wall. I'm going to add an edit poly and go to edit swift loop, and now if I press F4 on my keyboard, that sets to wire and edge faces mode, and we'll just click to make a window kind of roughly in the centre of the room. Now if you come over to polygon mode and select the front and back face and just hit delete, now you'll notice we'll now need to fill in the gap here, and to do that we'll go to edge mode and we'll select 2 edges like so and hit bridge, and we'll select 2, and in fact you can try selecting more, and if that doesn't work then just carry on and go around and do them individually. Okay, so there we have our basic room. I'm going to hide the ceiling now as well, and we're just going to make a kind of basic table thing to sit in there. So again, just using basic boxes, I'm going to make a box like so. And then we're going to add some boxes to act like table legs. Hold shift to clone. Might as well instance these just in case. Make a rough table like that. And I'm just going to plonk something like a box or a sphere on top. Totally up to you, whatever you want to put on top. Something like that. Okay, now with this table, this can just be one solid model. In fact, actually, with the sphere here, I'm just going to rotate this around 90 degrees. So I'm going to add an edit poly to this box, and we'll attach each of the legs in the sphere like so. Okay, so with each of our models made, and they're split up correctly, we've got each of our walls, our floor and our ceiling, and a kind of table prop here. I'm just going to name these. So I want you to use your initials with the underscore, and then just call them some sensible names. So we'll call this one TA underscore table. We'll call this TA underscore ceiling. And then this one will be TA underscore floor. TA underscore wall back. TA underscore wall front. TA underscore wall side L to the left. I'm just going to copy that name with Control C, paste it into there, and call it right. Okay, so with all our models now named, we've got our room kind of ready for exporting into UDK. Now, obviously the one thing we haven't done with each of these models is unwrap them, and this is one thing we're going to be looking at for our lighting. So the next thing we need to do then is actually unwrap each of these models. So I'm going to select the ceiling and go to Unwrap, go to Open UV Editor, go to Polygon Mode here, just select everything and just unfold. And that should be fine for that. And if I select my floor, because this was an instance, you'll see it's applied the unwrap to that as well. So we can hide both those models. We'll then select our side wall, unwrap on that, polygon mode, select all and just unfold mapping. And although that isn't really ideal, it'll do for this demo. And you can see it's applied it to our other side as well. So we'll do our back wall, exactly the same process. Open UV Editor, Polygon Mode, Unfold Mapping. And then our front wall. Select all, unfold mapping, for this one, I'm just going to make a slight tweak. Just select these and unfold those separately, and just plonk those over there. Might just shrink them down as well. And the last thing left is our table. I will unwrap that. And we're going to use select by element here. We'll select the sphere first, and it's kindly already got an unwrap on. We'll select the box next. Same thing as before, just unfold. We'll select the leg. We should be able to select each of these actually. Unfold. Make sure we're in select by element mode. I'm just going to select all these together and scale them down. Like I say, our UVs really are not that important for the sake of this demo. But they will be when we come to assign light maps. Okay, so with everything unwrapped, so for easier positioning, the next thing we're going to do is make sure that everything has the same pivot point, so that we can just align everything to the world origin and UDK. So if you just select all the models, go to modify, go to the hierarchy tab and select effect pivot only, and then make sure you're in move mode, and in these bottom coordinates here just put 0, 0, 0. Now if you come off effect pivot only and just select each model, you'll see everything has the same pivot point. Okay, so now we can export each of our models. So first thing we're going to do is select just any of our models basically, select the name and press Ctrl C, and then go export selected, and just within the light testing folder I've made an ASE folder, and I'm just going to paste TA floor and hit save. Make sure you've got mesh normals and mapping chords ticked on, and just hit OK. I'll hide that model, and then just go through each model and do this. If you keep forgetting to select the name and copy it, you can just reference it from the side. Okay, so with everything selected, we can then go into UDK. Okay, so in UDK, if you go to File, New, you can just select blank map from here, and I think we'll use that. So we'll just set everything up from scratch here. So we'll go to new packages and we'll select new. We'll call this package light TA lighting test. Okay, so here's my new package here. If I go to import, I'm just going to select all of my models, go to open. There they are, so I've got my entire scene in there. First thing I'll do is select the floor, then just add the floor. And now if you right click on the move tab and just type in 0, 0, 0, and then do the same, drag the ceiling in, again right click, 0, 0, 0, add in the table, right click on move, 0, 0, 0, the back wall, and just do this with each model. Like so, and there we go, we have our basic light rig scene set up. So let's just try adding a point light to this. And we'll just try build all. And you'll notice the first thing it opens up is a swarm agent. And the reason it opens this is because UDK can basically use a render farm. So if you had a big set of PCs all linked up to yours via a network, it could open up the swarm on each of those PCs to bake out your scene. Obviously at the moment I'm only connected to the one PC, so it only brings up my one PC in the list. Okay, so let's just try play from here. Oh, and obviously there's our first problem. We haven't set up collision on our models. So let's do that. Now UDK, you can set up collision, it's basic collision on models. To do that, if you go to the content browser and just select something like, just select your first model. Now the collision will work to basically create anything like a box collision. Now you can actually view it just over here by just going to show collision. And then if you want to create one in UDK, you can go to collision and pick any from this list. So I'll pick something like 6 DOP collision, and you'll see that'll work fine for a box. Let's just try applying that to our floor. And again, just view collision. And I'll try just doing that on this model as well. And just have a quick go at using something like that one. And you'll see it's kind of it has more vertex points in it, in the collision model basically, which means it can be more accurate. But obviously the more points you have in it, the harder it is for the engine to process it. You can actually also set up your own collision in 3ds Max, and I'll be showing you how to do that later. Okay, so we'll just try building our geometry again. We shouldn't need to build the lighting again because we've only changed some of the settings in the geometry. we can see now we can move around our scene. Okay. Okay, you can see although we've added in a light, there really isn't much lighting going on. We know our light source is there, and yet we're getting no kind of shadow casting at all onto this model. Now the reason for that is because UDK by default uses Lightmaps. Now the way Lightmaps work is they bake black and white image on top of the diffuse for the model. So to show you how this works properly, we'll go back into our content browser and we'll make a new material, and we'll just call this TA test matte. Now if we right click and go to constant, we'll select new constant, drop that into diffuse, and we'll just set that to 1, just to give us a nice kind of white material, and we'll leave it nice and matte as well. Matter of fact, what we're going to do is right click again and go constant, and we'll add another constant, drop this into specular and set this to 10. Now you can see we've got a nice shiny model there. Add another constant here, and then specular power we set that to something like 50, and you see we've got a nice kind of shiny material now. So you can tweak these to kind of define the specular effect on your model. So I'm going to go with something like that. Just now I want you to just apply that material to each object in your world. Okay, so UDK by default makes a light map for each model.